can bring to society. And the life sciences sector is composed by the private, but also the academia, as we saw the example AstraZeneca, Oxford, for example. So we saw other examples. Us with BioNTech, for example, that was with a biotech company. And, but also reminded of us when we have these weapons, these weapons, these weapons.
To make sure your most vulnerable populations get it. In our country, that would be Blacks and Native Americans. To make sure your most vulnerable populations get it. In our country, that would be Blacks and Native Americans. That would be Blacks and Native Americans.
Oh, now a new warning tonight about DNA companies and your personal information. Your DNA information can be sold and weaponized against you. The alarm being sounded. Listen to this.
You can actually take someone's DNA, take their medical profile, and you can target a biological weapon that will kill that person. And people will very rapidly spit into a cup and send it into 23andMe and get really interesting data about their background. And guess what? Their DNA is now owned by a private company and can be sold off. We have to have an open and public discussion about what does the protection of healthcare information, DNA information, and your data look like, because that data is actually going to be procured and collected by our adversaries for the development of these systems.
And before anybody goes crazy on this out there, that's a Democrat Congressman, Jason Crow, so not a right-wing talking point. I have been warning people about this for years, since 23andMe and all those spit in the vial, send it in. We're giving our information away. Health information is valuable information about you, and also the abuse and where the data is stored. You brought up that point in the break, Tammy. I want to go to you first. Who has the data matters here?
Well, I am the product of an affair. I don't really know anything about my father. So this DNA stuff was fascinating and very important to me. I've learned so much about who I am that I never could have guessed. And that is because of DNA. It's not the data or DNA that's the problem. It's the companies or the countries that control the data. China, of course, over a decade ago, like they do everything, moved into this. We are allowing China in relationships with hospitals, buying up companies regarding medical data, involved in, when it comes to paternity and maternity, finding out about your fetus and the health of your baby as the baby's developing. It goes to China. The control and the knowledge, the data they have, to say nothing of hackings of hospitals, hackings of our health insurance companies, right? The Office of Personnel Management, Obamacare, really, we're looking at China and Russia, et cetera. So in deals that the American government could control, we have less control over data. We're allowing foreign countries, enemies to gather this data, and yes, to potentially use it. The fact that that discussion was at the Aspen gathering with American leadership, not in a cave somewhere on ham radio with conspiracy theorists. They've known this for at least a decade, and our government has done nothing to change it. So my message is, it's not the data or learning about who you are that's the problem, any more than a firearm is the problem. It's whose hand is the data in.
To make sure your most vulnerable populations get it. In our country, that would be Blacks and Native Americans. To make sure your most vulnerable populations get it. In our country, that would be Blacks and Native Americans.